Good afternoon, class. So can you see the board, please? So if everybody here, so let me start the class. So in the previous lesson, we finished with capacity design, right? We focused on waiting light. So right now, is today's lesson, we move to another chapter, that is the chapter number 6, is supply contracts. So this supply contracts, you can find that in the textbook here, and this textbooks actually don't have in ebook. That don't have in ebook, but this chapter have in this textbook. Design and manage the supply chain concept, strategy, and case study. You can find that in library. This textbook. Okay. So for today's lesson, we focus on introduction of the supply contract. What type of contract for strategist component, contract for MTS and MTO supply chain, contract with the asymmetric information, and type of contract for non-strategist component. So we will go one by one. The first of all, I will introduce with you what are the supply contracts, why we need to use that. So you know that at the last few years, we have seen significant increase the level of outsourcing. So the company outsource everything from manufacturing for specific component to design or to assembly of entire products. So for example, like with the computer, they manufacture a computer, so they must outsource from other supplier. Like maybe they outsource material, they outsource each component in the computer, right? So right now, many of the company, they do outsource. Why they need to do outsource? Everyone, why companies is referred to outsource? Because they just want, they focus on what they're like professional. So they must to outsource this. There are other company to reduce other component. So for example, if the company just focus on manufacturing, so they don't want to spend a lot of time like to for example, transportation. They don't want to focus on the transportation. They just want to focus on manufacturing. So they outsource transportation from the third party supply. So right now, many companies, they do like this. So that's why the procurement function becomes critical. So you know that if we want enough the material for the company at that time we produce the product, so we need to have the context. We need to have a contact with the supplier, right? So for today's lesson, we will learn the strategic component and non-strategic component for contracts. So what is the strategic component? Strategic component, that is the supplier and the buyer have close relationship. So we have effective supplier. We for a non-strategic component, that is we can purchase from the various supplier. So flexibility to the market condition is more important. So what exactly the strategic component? Strategic component is mean that supplier usually supply the product for us. So right now we have the contracts to sign the contract for them. They okay. So next week you must to send me 1 ton of material of the steel. So this is like this. But like for non-strategic component, it's different. So for example, the product like electricity, computer memory, oil, so we can find from the various supplier. So we can select which one is cheaper, which one is the fast delivery. So we can connect with them to deliver the products or material for you. So it's different with the strategic component. Okay, so today's lesson we go one by one. So let's first of all go with the strategic component. Alo, mấy bạn có nghe cái tiếng ồn gì từ phía cô không các bạn? Hello. Các bạn nào có thể cho cô biết là các bạn có bị nghe tiếng ồn không? Tại vì ở bên cô đang nghe tiếng rất là ồn đó, nên là không biết bên mấy bạn có bị như vậy không?
Dạ cô, em vẫn nghe cô rõ lắm mà.
À, vậy là không có bị ồn đúng không? Vậy là được rồi.
Dạ.
So for the strategic component, we have many types of supply contracts. But the main purpose of the strategic component, we make sure that we have enough supply and demand for good. Supply can supply enough the order from the buyer, and they have the buyer must to receive enough the number of product they order from the supplier. Okay. So in here, the typical supply contracts for buyer and supplier, they will agree on several factors like pricings and volume discounts, maximum or minimum the purchase, the quantities, delivery lead time. This means how you deliver, when, and the products or material qualities, and product return policies. So that is several things when we sign the contract side in the supplier and buyer. They focus on 6 elements like this. So, okay. So in here we go with 2-stage supply chains. Okay, for two stage of supply chain. So if you look at here, you have supplier, you have the buyer here. So what supplier do? Supplier do that is react to the order from the buyer. So what the buyer do? The buyer, they must to generate the forecast. It means how many the product they should order from supplier, and they must to determine the order quantities, right? And after that, they place the order to supplier. So to make sure that they can get the optimal profit, that is the 2 stage of the supply chain between the supplier and buyer. Buyer, they do 3 things, but make sure that they can maximize profits. And the supplier, so just react the order from buyer. Here we call that a 2 stage supply chain. So I will give you example. So in this example, we have that is the manufacturer. They have fixed cost that is $100,000. We have variable cost is $35. So during the summer season, the manufacturer they sell the product for retailer. What the price that is the $80 for 1 unit. So the retailer sell to the customer, and customer what the price is $125. And as that is the service. Service is the $20. Service is mean after the summer season. So the retailer they sell all the product they have with the discount. With the discounts is discount to $20 per 1 unit per unit. So right now the question is like the order quantities. So how many order the retailer should order to manufacturer. So you can see that is 2 stage, right? That is two stage of supply chain. Right now, how many order? So they calculate the retail, the marginal profits. Retail, how many the profit retail can get? That is the 45. Why 45? Because you buy from the manufacturer is 80s, but you sell that is 125. So the profit you can get for each product is 45. But see here, retail marginal loss is retail could be lost is $60. Why? Because you can see that they buy from the manufacturers 80s, but if they cannot sell during the summer, they save it. So they just get $20. So the marginal loss that is $60. So you compare that. The chain for loss is higher, chain you get the profits. So in here they provide the information for you, that is the demand here, demand, that is the, the probabilities for corresponding with its demand. But let me show you here. You can see clearly. From the probabilities, so that is the information they collect, so they provide. So from this, they calculate the order quantities. So they will, the retailer, they consider, okay, if the order quantities is 5,000, so the average, they guess that is number. So if they can calculate, they consider for all the order quantities, so they see which one that is the optimal order quantity they should order to manufacturer. Here you can see that 12,000. With 12,000, they can get the maximum profits. 470. And manufacturer, the profits they can get, that is, they tax. You can see here they have the variable cost, that is the selling price. You take the selling price minus for fixed cost, no, variable cost. And after that, you minus the fixed cost time with 12,000. Time with 12,000. So you have the profit here. So the total profit we can get for whole supply chain, that is more than 900,000. So in this case, in this example, just illustrate for you, that is for the retailer here, they must to focus and they must to get the order, make sure that they can optimal their solution, optimal the profits. Okay. So any question, everyone? Do you have any question related to that? So no questions, so I move to another type of contracts. So we just know like this, the two state of the supplier and buyer. So right now, before we move to like supplier contract, so let I tell you about the risk of buyer and the risk of supplier. So the risk from the buyer, if they limit order quantities, so they can get the risk that is the probability of out of stock is enough, enough the product for their selling. But risks of the supplier, actually they would like the buyers order as much as possible from them. So if they are sharing the risk sharing here, so maybe they can increase the profits for both sides. From the buyer and supplier. Actually, from the supplier, they just would like the buyer order more. but the most of the risk is lie on the buyer because they don't have enough the quality, so quantities they get out of stock. So right now, how we can have like the contracts between, how we sign the contract between the buyer and the supplier. So if here we have several types of the contracts to share the risk between supplier and buyer. So first of all, that is the buyback contracts. So buyback contract is mean the seller agreed to buy back unsold goods from the buyer for some agreed upon price higher than the salvage value. So what does it mean? For example, if I order from the supplier 100 products, so when I'm selling to the customer, but I just sell like 19, I still have 10. So 10 the product I sell back to the supplier, and the supplier must to buy that product is higher than the service value. Service value is mean like when you sell the product after the season, you sell the product is with discount like $20, but the supplier must to buy that product more than $20. Okay, that is the buyback contracts. So the buyback contracts give the buyer, they are confident to buy more products, right? And decrease their out of stock, the probability of out of stock. And the benefits from the seller that they can increase their profits because they can get the high order quantity from the buyer. That is the buyback contracts. So here I give you example with buyback contracts. So for buyback contracts, example, the same example, the fixed cost you get that is here, variable cost is 35. Manufacturer, they sell 80s, and you can see here, service, retailer sell to end user with the discount is $20, but the retailer they sell to the manufacturer is higher, that is 55. So you can see here is higher than, greater than 20. So you can see that the profits, the retailer and the manufacturer, they get the profits is $45, right? But the retailer loss is just $25. So the profits is higher than loss, so they will like order more products. They're confident to order more products. So if look at this. So you can see in the previous they order 12,000, right? 4,000. Right now they can order 14,000, and the profits they get that is 530. 530. And you can see the profits from the manufacturer, they can get study more 471. 100,000. So the total profits of supply chain it is increased. You can see that it was 900, almost is 10,000, 10,000. So here is year with. So if you can compare in this, so see. So in the previous, we get that number. But here we compare that. So you can see the profit is increased. So we have the buyback contracts. So any question in buyback contracts? So let me ask some students. Make sure they follow me. Hồ Yến nè, hello nè.
Yes, teacher, I'm here.
Any question?
Yeah, no.
It's clear, right? So you can see I'm just show you the advantage of the buyback contracts. But what is the limitation of the buyback contracts? So here, show you the buyback contracts. So you know that if you look at this, you see from the retailer, you buy back for manufacturer. You must to pay for reverse logistic cost, like transportation cost or holding cost, reverse logistic. So that is the disadvantage of the buyback contract. Increase the logistic cost. So when the retailer sell the competing products, they have incentive to push the product which are not under buyback contract due to higher risks. So what is it mean? So everyone, you do understand that. So for example, here retailer they sell like Samsung and Apple products, but the Samsung they sign contract with the Samsung. The Samsung can buy back their products, but the Apple they don't have the contract for buybacks. Apple they don't have the buyback contract, so the retailer they try to sell more the product from the Apple rather than Samsung, because the Samsung guarantee they can buy back the product from the retailer. So that is the high risk. Okay. So we just finished with buyback the contracts. Right now I move to another, that is the revenue sharing contracts. What is the revenue sharing contracts? Mấy bạn đi học mấy bạn nhớ vô đúng giờ giùm cô, mấy bạn cứ đi vô trễ quá làm cô không có, cô bị mất tập trung khi dạy á. Cứ đang dạy là cứ các bạn nhảy vô. Okay, so let me back the question. Revenue sharing contracts. Revenue sharing contracts is mean like one of the reason for the buyer order the limit the number of units, either higher wholesale price. So here, the revenue sharing contracts is like the buyer, they buy the products, but actually have the limit in like the finance. So so the supplier, they have like discount on the wholesale price. If the buyer, they buy more products, so they can get the wholesale price. But the buyer, they must share their revenue with the supplier. Okay, you understand on that? So the buyer, they also want to buy the product from the supplier with the lower price, and also they want more products. But if they buy more product, they order more product, so they limited on the finance, and also they must to keep in the inventory, so they must to pay the holding cost if they cannot sell. So the supplier, they have a contract with the supplier, so the supplier will discount them and they can get the wholesale price, so it means the cheaper, but the profits they get is more, they must to share with the supplier. Okay, so I give you example. So here you see that the manufacturer, they sell the for retailers $60. $60 cheaper than, that cheaper than is 80, right? So you see in the previous example, they sell for the retailer is $80, but right now they just sell $60. But the profits the retailer gets from their selling, they must to share with the manufacturer like 15% of revenue. So you can see here, the retailer, they can get the profits that is 65. Manufacturer, they get is 25 because 60 they minus is 35, so you get 25. And the retailer marginal loss is 40. So you can see the profit is 65, but the loss just 40. So they will order more product from the retailer. So look at this. You can see here you look at this, the optimal products, optimal the product from the buyer, the order to supplier is 14,000, and the profit they get is 500,000, and the totally this is that number of profits. So look at this. You see that in the buyback contracts. So the buyback contract we get the same value with the selling here. Sorry, in the buyback contract. In the buyback contract, you get the same the profits for supply chain. That is, you get benefits from your the buyer and supplier. But that is still increased compared with if in this case, in the beginning of this case, you can see the profits if they don't have any contracts. If they don't have the contract, the both side just the total profits they just get that number. It's 910,000 here. That is the 985. Okay, that is for revenue sharing contracts. Of course, revenue sharing contracts also have a limitation. So supplier have to monitor buyer revenue. So it means supplier they must to manage the buyer revenue. How many products? So the supplier they want to know that. So if they want to know that, they must to have like the system to manage that. So that is less increase the administration cost. So you know that the buyer sometimes they very smart. They sell more products, but they just say that the number of products is lower than that real the product they sell to the end customer. So the selling the revenue to the supplier is low. So the supplier they want to manage that, but the supplier must to pay for administration costs. So the information technology is not enough. Building trust between the supplier and buyer is not only important, but also difficult to achieve. So, and I just tell you that. So the buyer, they're very smart, like retailer. We must to use the like technology to manage. We don't use like the trust based on the trust between the supplier and buyer. So another limitation that is the retailer have incentive to put the competing product with higher profits since under revenue share contracts. So the retailer profit is reduced. So what does it mean here, everyone? So it means the retail they have many products, but with the revenue sharing contract, they don't want to push that, because if they sell more in that, more product in that, they can share the revenue with the supplier, right? So the same example with the Samsung and Apple. If Samsung have the side contract, revenue sharing with that retail, but Apple they don't. And so the retail they try to push, they try to sell the product from the Apple because they don't share the revenue. Okay, so that's why the retail the profit margins reduce. That is the limitation of the revenue and selling contracts. So we have other contract that is the quantity and flexibilities. Quantity and flexibility is mean the supplier they provide full refund for unsold product as long as the number of return is lesser than uncertain quantities. So what does it mean? It means like, so let me give you an example here. So the manufacturer, they sell the products to retailer, right? That is the selling price. So the retailer can sell back to the manufacturing. The sell back with what that's price, 80s. But the quantity of product they sell back to the manufacturer must be less than a fixed number. For example, you can sell it for me, but it's less than 1,000 products. I cannot full refund for you if that number more than 1,000 products. That is the quantity flexibility contract. Okay. So sell repay contracts. Another contract. So sell repay contracts that is provide a direct incentive to retail increase the sale by means of the repay by the supplier for any item sold above the certain quantities. So let me move on here. So we just have 4 contracts, right? We just have 4 contracts: buyback, revenue sharing, quantity, flexibility, sale repay. So in here I have summarize the characteristics of each contract. So for the first, they just give the partial refund if buyback. But for quantity and flexibility, they full refund. Full refund. Here, partial refund. But in here, for all unsold. But in this, for just a limited number of unsold products. Good. Okay. And revenue sharing. So the buyer share revenue with supplier in the return of discount wholesale price. But for sale repay, that is intended to meet the target sale. So for example, if you sell in this month, if you sell more than 100 the products, so you will get the benefits is from the supplier. So the supplier, the buyer, they have the motivated to sell more profits, so they can get like the benefits from the supplier. So for example, um, if you sell lesser than 1,000 products, so you get the price. Each price I sell you is $5. If you sell 1,000 products, so I'm just sell you 4.5 dollar for each product. It's good. Okay, that is sell we pay. Any question for me? We just finished on 4 contracts. Any question, everyone? So, question just leave in the chat box. So let me move on another contract. Another that is the global optimization. What is the global optimization? So global optimization, that is what is the most profits for both supplier and buyer can have to achieve. So when we talk about the global is for whole supply chain. It's not local. Local is focused on a supplier or a buyer, but here get the benefits for both sides. Optimization is mean we try to find the maximum profits. So what if an unbiased decision maker, unbiased decision maker are allowed to identify the best strategy for enterprise supply chains? Okay, so let me give you example. So in this example for a global optimization, you see the manufacturer, they sell the for retailer 80s. Retailer sell to the end customer, that is the number, and service is $20. So the profit supply chain they can get. You can see we consider whole supply chain. It means from that is variable cost. We take to end customer. The difference here that is 90. But the supply chain marginal loss is 35 minus 20. 20 that is the service price you sell after end decision. You get a 15. So compare that. You see the profit is larger than loss. So the supply chain will be produced more than average demand. So when you look at this, you can see if we consider the global optimization, you can see we not stop at 14,000. Here you see that is 16,000. And the profits for whole supply chain is 1,000, more than 1,000 tons. It's like million, right? More than 1 million. Billion, 1 billion. Compare with the previous contract, so you can see that with the global optimization, we can get more profits than, right? Of course, for global optimization, they also have disadvantage. So can you figure out the disadvantage of the global optimization, everyone? Hello. Can you figure out the disadvantage? So, well, today lesson no one support me. No one wants to answer my question. So the difficulties that the film have to like surrender decision making power to an unbiased decision maker. So it means we need to have the unbiased decision maker to give the strategy for whole supply chains. So another disadvantage that is it doesn't provide the mechanism to allocate the supply chain profits between the partners. So it means we mentioned allow the buyer and supplier sharing the risk and the potential benefits. Also allocate the profits among supply chain members. So if for supply chain we have like many partners, right? They don't mention about how we can share in the benefits, also the risk from each partner. Okay. So careful design the supply contract achieves exactly the same the profits as the global optimization. Be careful. So right now we just finished with 5 type of contracts. Here you see five type of contracts. Buyback contracts, revenue sharing, quantities flexibility, selling repaid, and global optimization. We finished that. We have 5 contracts for strategic component. Right now we move to the contract for make to stock and make to order supply chain. So make the contract for make for stock and make to order supply chain. So make to stock supply chain is the buyer take all the risk. Supplier have knowledge, that is make to order. But for what about make to stock supply chain? Make to stock supply chain is sharing the risk between supplier and buyer. The supplier sharing risk from the buyer. So give you example. So selling season from September to December. So the manufacturer, they start production 12 months before selling season. Before distributor, they place any order. So the manufacturer, they have the plan to produce their product 12 months in advance. They sell to the distributor 80. So from the distributor, they sell to the retailer, that is 125. And distributor, they can sell back to manufacturer is $20. So here it means the distributor can make the order to the manufacturer. So how many the product quantity they should produce. 6 months after the beginning of the production. And after that, retailer, they also have the forecast. They have the plan to make order to the distributor. So in this, we can see that here that is the make to stock. The profits from the manufacturer get that is 25. So, and the loss that is 60. The distributor for profits can get is 45. 20 that is the service rate. So you see that the profits and loss of manufacturer, the profits is lower later than its profits. Loss is greater than. So right now they try to find the product quantity. So the product quantities for a manufacturer, they get the profits here, the highest value with the 12,000 the product, so they get the high profits. For distributor, they get that profits. If you look at this table, so you can see the distributor, the profits, they are increased. But the profits of the manufacturer, they increase until 116, and after that they will reduce. So you can look at the figure here. So it means like distributor, they have like no risk if they sell more products, so they can get more. but the total profits they can get from this at a 670 670,000. So with situation like this, so the manufacturer they will decide to produce that number of products. They just sell that for distributor. If they sell more than, they don't get the optimal the profits. Just only me speaking. Feel bored. So any question for me, everyone? Just only me speaking, so people. So everyone, so I suggest you take the break, like 10-minute break. Let me get like new energies, positive energy to continue to teach you. Hello. Hello, hello. Okay, so take 10 minutes break.
Yes, okay, teacher.
Okay. Hello, I'm back.
Yes, we back to.
Okay, so we stop at the contract for make to stock and make to order supply chains, right? In the previous, we just finished with 5 contracts. So 5 contract, we mentioned that is like make to order or make to stock, everyone. 5 contracts that I make to stock or make to order. So all the contract we discussed that is the make to order. So make to order, the buyer take all the risk, but the supplier take no risk. So right now we want to share the risk between supplier and buyer. So what is the previous contracts? So when the supplier to make to order. So how can we sharing the risk? So here, that is the example we just analyze. So in here, so you can see here, I just explained that the manufacturer that is the um, they get uh, more profits. Okay, right now move to the contract for the make to stock supply chain. So make to stock is manufacturer, they get rich if they build in more than capacity themselves. They produce more than capacity they can sell to distributor. So the distributor, they has no risk. They would like the supplier to build as much as capacity as possible. Right now, how we can share in that. So sharing the risk can help the manufacturer reduce the manufacturing risks and motivate the manufacturer can increase the product capacities. And another purpose that is to increase the profits for both supply chain entities is from manufacturer and distributor. So right now we have several contracts to do sharing risk. The first that is the payback contracts. Payback contracts. So for payback contracts, that is the buyer agreed to pay some agree upon the price for any units produced by manufacturer, but not purchased by distributor. They pay back. So you understand in this. So it means the buyer, they have agreement with um, the supplier. If they cannot sell all the products, uh, so they will pay back. They will pay back the money I cannot sell to the end customer. So that is the buyback contracts. So what is the advantage for buyback contract from the manufacturer? So the manufacturer with the buyback contract like that, they have the incentive to produce more units. So, and for the distributor, they can increase, the risk is increased. So look at example here, this for better understand. So you can see the manufacturer, they sell the distributor, and distributor can sell back for the manufacturer what the price trend is, and distributor sell to retailer at 125. And the distributor can send back to manufacturer for each good is $80 if they cannot sell that product. So you can see the profits the manufacturer can get that is 25. The manufacturer lost that is 17, right? 17. They sell that, but they can get back. So lost 17. The profit is less than a loss. And for the distributor, they guess the profit is 45. So the manufacturer, they have like incentives to increase its product quantity to 14,000, you see, and the profits they can guess is 120, 180, sorry, 180. And the distributor also they increase the profits. Increase their profits. So you see that in the previous, the manufacturer, the profits they increase and after that they decrease after optimal. But the distributor, they just increase. But with buyback contract here, they share the risk. So if over than that number, the profits they also decrease. You see, the profits of manufacturer decrease. In this case, you can see here, in this case, the manufacturer, they just produce 12,000 products. And the profits they get is lower. The distributor, they don't have any risk. If they sell more, so they can get more. But the manufacturer, if they produce over than that number, 12,000, so the profit is decreased. So compare with the sharing, compare with the buyback here, you see the profits also increase. The total profits increase. Because they increase the number of quantities production. That is the advantage of buyback contracts. Another contract that is the cost sharing contracts. Sorry. So, okay, let me move back here. We mentioned about distributor risk increase, but can you point out what is the distributor risk increase in this situation, APAC contracts? Because actually the manufacturer, they have like the motivation to produce more products so they can get more. But what is the distributor risk increase? Who can let me know? Please don't let me talk a lot. Joe, do you have any idea? You usually support me. So everyone, I let you think about that. The distributor risk increase. So let me move. No one answer me question. Okay. About the cost sharing contracts. The important of the reason why manufacturer doesn't produce enough the quantity production is the high the production cost. So if the manufacturer can convince the distributor to sharing some of cost production, so the manufacturer will be produce more. So the paying part of the cost production, they reduce distributor profits if unable to sell more units. So okay, look at this. So the manufacturer, they give like discount on the wholesale price for distributor, but the distributor must share some of the production cost with manufacturer. So in the previous, you remember we have revenue sharing. It means the manufacturer, they give the discount on wholesale price for distributor, but the distributor must be sharing their cost for sharing revenue for manufacturer. But in this case, the distributor sharing the cost production for manufacturer. So, what example? The manufacturing sell the product is $68, and that is the service price 20. So the distributor must to share the production cost for the manufacturer. Actually, they sell the product is $80. $80. But right now they just sell with 62. That is the wholesale price. That is wholesale price. They give they just offer $62. But the distributor said distributor must to share 33% of the production cost with manufacturer. So in this case, the profits the manufacturer gets 37, manufacturer loss is 35, loss is more than profits. The distributor profits is 63. So look at this. So with the cost sharing contracts, the quantities here, that is the 14,000 unit, and the profits of manufacturer increase and distributor increase. So you can see that is larger than if we don't have any contracts at the beginning here. See, that is just 617,000. Compare with that. Here that is greater than 6,000. With the sharing contract, we can increase the production quantities, so the total profits increase. So disadvantage of the cost sharing. So require the manufacturer have to share its production cost information with distributor. So, but you know that actually the manufacturer sometimes they don't want to share. They refuse to share the information, the production cost information. So when they sell in that price, they don't want the distributor to know how many profits they can get, right? But so how we can implement these contracts in the practice? Everyone, do you have any idea how we can implement that contract in the practice? Because actually, manufacturer they don't want to share the production cut information with the distributor. So let me ask our student. Nguyễn Ngọc Hân. Hello Hân. Hân, hello. Are you here?
Teacher.
Yes. Hân. So my question is how we can implement that contract in the practice. Did you follow my lesson?
Cô gọi tao trả ba. Cô gọi tao.
What are you doing? Do you follow my question? Follow my lesson? Hello Hân. Do you have an idea? So let me ask other students. Please pay attention on my lesson. Khánh Huyền, Võ Trần Khánh Huyền. Hello Huyền, Khánh Huyền. Okay. Khánh Huyền, you absent in my class. You're not in my class, right? Võ Trần Khánh Huyền.
Cô bạn Khánh Huyền nhắn tin trong chat box đó cô.
Okay. Studying why in the cafes. Everyone, that is the official class. You must answer my question. Okay, so how we can implement that in the practice? So the suggestion that is the distributor can buy key component to send to the manufacturer for produce the good, and the remaining component distributor can book and ship to manufacturer, so they can know about the cost information from the distributor. That is the way they do that in the practice. Okay. So I'm just tell you that. So distributor purchase one or more component than the manufacturer needs, and the component remain of the distributor book but shipped to manufacturer facility for production of the finished goods. It means like distributor, they involve in the way they buy the component for manufacturer. So they will know the cost, the production cost. They can estimate. Okay. The next, that is the global optimization. So for make to stop the global optimization. So the global optimization, we have discussed, we have the same here. So we must calculate the profits for supply chain, loss for all supply chain, what is the optimal production quantity, the profits in supply chain subject to the optimal product quantities, like in the previous. So like in the previous example. So here we calculate the information we put in here, selling price. We calculate the total profits. If you take the selling price to retailer, you minus the variable cost, so you can get the supply chain management of profits, right? And loss, supply chain marginal loss. So you take this loss by 55 minus 20, so you have loss. And the optimal quantities they estimate, they calculate at 40,000, and expected supply chain profits is that number. So in this number, we compare with the payback and selling cost, we get the same. You see, we get the same. With the same. Compare with global. So for making make to stock, supply chain, we have three types of contracts. The first that is payback, second that is cost saving, and the third that is the global optimization. So right now, we move to the contract with asymmetric information. Question for me? Anyone have any question? If you do not, so I move to the contract for asymmetric information. So with asymmetric information, that is the manufacturer, they build the capacity based on the forecast from the buyer, it means from the distributor. But usually the distributor, they inflate their forecast. You know, inflate is like make it bigger than the real. So they make it this. So there is always a positive probability that the forecast is the higher the really is. Is that right? The forecast, the manufacturer, they build the capacity based on the distribution center, but distribution center, they might inflate their forecast. So they build on the capacity is different with the demand. So whether we can design the contracts that achieve credible information sharing or not. So how can we sign the contracts on this case? So we have two contracts can achieve credible information sharing. The first, that is the capacity reservation contracts. Reservation contracts. And we have another contracts, that is the advance purchase contracts. We have two types of contracts to deal this situation. So let me go to the capacity reservation contracts. So in this case, the supplier, they design the menu of reservation price to motivate the manufacturer to reveal its true forecast. And for the buyer here, they pay the reserve, the certain level of capacities. So what is the reserve price? Reservation price. Reservation price is the menu of price designed by supplier to motivate the manufacturer to review their true forecast. So, for example, buy and choose the amount of capacity to reserve with supplier. So I will give you an example in here. So if you order this, the quantity products, so you will get that price. If you order another, so you get other price. So if the buyer, they choose what's the package, so the supplier can guess that the true forecast value from the buyer. That is the capacity reservation contracts. So if the buyer they make the reservation is larger than their forecast, so they must to pay more money. So here the supplier they have the list of reservation price. The main purpose is the supplier want to know the true forecast value from buyer. Okay. Another that is advanced purchase contracts. Advanced purchase contracts is mean supplier they charge at the advanced purchase price for the firm order placed prior to the building the capacity, and different price for additional order placed when the demand is realized. So what does it mean? It means that so the supplier they will give the price if the buyer they order in advance, building the capacities. For example, preparing for the summer, the buyer they order like the product from supplier. They order 100 units. So the supplier they will charge that price. So if after they order 100, they order additional order. So the supplier they will charge different price. So it means the supplier can know the real demand from the buyer. It means we divide into level. The first, if you order in the first time, so you will get like lower price. But after that, you additional order, so you get this higher. So the buyer they will consider to select they should how many the product they should order. Okay. If they order in advance, maybe they get the lower price. They have intensive to order. That is the two way to deal with this situation. The supplier can know the forecast, the real forecast from the buyer. They pay on that. They build the capacity production. Okay. So in the previous, we just studied what the contract for strategic component. Right now, we move to the contract for non-strategic component. The difference is here we don't have one supplier, but we have many suppliers. We have many suppliers, so we flexibility to the market condition and perceive as more important than permanent relationship with the supplier. So it means the buyer, they can buy their product from the different supplier. So they can see that a supplier have get more discount benefits. So they will have relationship with that supplier. They different with the strategist component. Strategist component, they have long relationship with the supplier. So for commodities products like electricity, computer, memory, steel, on ground cotton. So we have a large number of suppliers they can purchase in spot markets. So advantage of this, we can select the multi-supplier resource. The buyer, they can reduce the supply cost, and they will have the more responsive and flexibility to the market condition. It means so when we have the permanent relationship with that supplier, we so if they cannot deliver for you on time, so you don't have any like other choice. But with a multiple resource supplier resource, so you can select depend on your requirement. An effective procurement strategies, drive cost down and reduce risk. Of course, the cost will down. We can select supplier with lower cost, right? We can choose that with lower cost. And with the reduce risk, like with the strategist component, that supplier did not enough the capacity to provide for you, so you max out stuff. But for more supplier resource, so you can select from other supplier. But we also take the risk here, the inventory risk due to the uncertain demand. The price of financial risk due to the volatile price. And the shortage risk due to the limited component availabilities. So inventory risk due to uncertain demand. Because we don't have like we don't have if we don't have like we don't have side contract with supplier, you may have the inventory risk due to the uncertain demand. And if demand increase, or maybe they out of the capacities. Or if you don't have like the side contracts, the price of finance risk due to the volatile price. It means like price can suddenly change, increase or decrease. And also the shortage risk. So for contract of non-strategic component here, we have long-term contracts, and we have flexible option contracts. We have spot purchase, we have portfolio contracts. Also, here we focus on 4 types of contracts. So for long term of contracts, we eliminate the financial risk. So specify a fixed amount of supply to be delivered at some point in the future. So for long-term contract here, it means we must to sign with supplier with fixed amount of the supplier to deliver for us in the future. So we don't have the risk for out of capacities, out of stock. The supplier and buyer agree on both price and the quantity to be delivered to buyer. So we fit the price, we fit the quantity at that time, but that is used for future. The buyer bear no financial risk. However, take the huge inventory risk due to the uncertain demand and inability to adjust order quantity. So when we have the fixed the price and the quantities fit that number, it means we cannot change, right? But we also, if we cannot change, also we can get risk because the uncertainty demand, and so we cannot change the price and also cannot change the quantities. That is the risk. They have advantage and disadvantage, right? So another contracts, the flexible or opinion contracts. So the buyer repay the relative small fraction of the product price upfront. The supplier commits to reserve the capacity up to the certain level. So everyone, just wait a minute. So I will turn on the light. It's too dark. It's better. So we just finished long-term contract, right? Right now we have the flexible and option contracts. So for flexible and option contract, it means we can have flexible. So let me, because everyone, I'm just like talk by myself, talk along. So sometimes I don't know what I'm talking. But everyone is, I think it's, we should stop here and continue in next class because just only me talking, I feel not exciting. So what do you think? We just still have 1, 2, 3, 4 slides. Or let me finish that. You can read that also, and we will finish that in next class for the contractional strategies component.
Excuse me, teacher.
Hello?
Yeah, should I post the homework today also for chapter 6?
Yes.
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
Everyone, so we stop at the contract for non-strategist component. Continue in next class. What do you think? Agree? Hello? No one in my class? So,
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's okay to stop here.
Hey, everyone. So let me quickly summarize that. In today's lesson, we focus on supply contracts. So supply contract is for supply for strategic and non-strategic component. So each of strategies, we have several contracts, and I'm sharing with you. And the rest is the contract for non-strategies. We're not finished, and we will finish that in next class. Any question for me? If you don't have any questions, so we can stop here. Any question you can leave in the meeting chat or the chat box, and we will answer you. Okay. So I know that is many students not in my class today lesson, not in my class. Here just like 24 students. More of you absent. Okay, anyway, thank you for your attend my class. And I hope you can support me in next class. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Goodbye, teacher.